can see is the tip of the squisher's head poking out above the waterline.
Hey, Rhaegar, what you up to?
Oh, hello, Dave. Oh, just taking a break from reading and, watching some stick talk.
Rhaegar, you gotta watch out for those conspiracy theories, man. You can really get radicalized by that stuff.
They really ought to call it Nimble Dick Talk. He's so good.
And now we will take a time.
Oh, look,
out
here's
to
one of yours.
address The reign of King Maegor, because
Oh, yeah,
Chat
that's
has
my
brought it
Maegor
up.
rant.
No, Maegor did not do what it took for House Targaryen to survive. Maegor left the house in ashes, and it was only Jaehaerys and also Alysanne and Rhaena and Alyssa Velaryon who made sure that the Targaryen dynasty survived. Aenys' weakness and Maegor's cruelty almost destroyed House Targaryen. But there is this talking point run around that Maegor was extreme, but he did what had to be done. No, he died on the Iron Throne with no friends and no allies, having squandered all of his political power and plunged the entire realm into war. So no,
Really, Dave?
he did not ensure the survival of House Targaryen. Don't tell me to chill. George is not writing this history.
You
as
need to chill.
someone
You
who
sound
is
overcaffeinated,
either chill
Dave, to be honest.
or amoral.
Yeah, probably.
He is a passionate objector. He's a conscientious objector to Vietnam. And he is showing us that people like Tywin and Maegor, when they try to take shortcuts through ultra violence, they only visit that violence back on their own house and their own person. Tywin died on a toilet, shitting his brains out while he was shot in the stomach by his
that's
son, who
terrible
may or may
news.
not have been his son. And Maegor died, again, on the Iron Throne without a friend in the world. So that's the wages of psychopathic cruelty. And I just think this is an important thing that George is trying to communicate in the story. And so I have attempted to re-communicate that. And I will now climb off my soapbox.
Well, Dave, I don't know. I mean, I've been reading some things on Reddit lately about Maegor saying, that he wasn't that cruel, that a lot of this was exaggerated by the Maesters, and that he actually did what he needed to do to save House Targaryen. What do you say about that?
No, see, that's just what I was talking about. You're getting radicalized on Reddit.
Well, they're making some good points, Dave. I mean, I don't...
Okay, well, let's go through Maegor's list of deeds and see. First, when he was 8, he stabbed a palfrey to death and slashed a stable boy's face when he came running to see what was the matter.
Well, Dave, it also says that he was kicked by the palfrey. Have you ever been kicked by a horse of any kind, Dave? You can get seriously injured. And perhaps the stable boy who, think about it, Dave, would be older than Maegor and probably much bigger. Perhaps he was bullying young Maegor with the horse. And perhaps Maegor was simply defending himself.
Well, I mean, I guess there's no way to really know for sure.
See, Dave, your whole case has collapsed right there. You're not smarter than the people on Reddit.
Well, I mean, there's more.
Oh, next you're going to tell me that polygamous marriage is not okay. I thought you were progressive, Dave.
Okay, well, he did take Alice Haraway as his second wife against the protest of his brother, the king, which inflamed tensions with the faith, who then rebelled in open war against Aenys shortly thereafter.
What do you have against polygamous marriage, Dave? There's a lot of princesses in the world, and someone's got to marry them. There's a shortage of dashing princes these days.
Yes, well, you want to make sure you don't start any wars in the process, Rhaegar. Very important lesson.
I'm not sure what you mean by that, Dave.
What about Maegor flying back to Westeros to usurp the throne from his nephew, Aegon the Uncrowned?
Maegor was the only one strong enough to hold the Iron Throne. He had Balerion, the Black Dread, as well as the House Targaryen ancestral sword, Blackfire.
Yes, but he also became the first Targaryen kinslayer and the first to turn dragon against dragon in Westeros. That seems like a bad omen. What the Targaryens needed to do, instead of killing each other, was to show a united ruling dynasty to Westeros, and Maegor absolutely killed any chance of that happening.
How come you only blame Maegor? What about Aenys? He was a weak king. That's why Maegor had to show such strength.
I do, absolutely. I said at the top, Aenys' weakness and Maegor's cruelty were both bad, and both eroded the strength of House Targaryen. But Aenys' children were different. Aegon, who was the rightful ruler, and his sister wife, Rhaena Targaryen, they both showed courage and strength that Aenys lacked. They probably would have been a terrific ruling couple with the support of Maegor and Visenya and their dragons, Balerion and Vhagar.
Well, perhaps you have a point there, Dave, but it does seem like a war with the faith was brewing no matter what Maegor did.
No, you're right. The faith did have to be dealt with, and Aenys managed the situation poorly during his reign, for sure.
After all, they called Aenys King Abomination and rebelled against his throne before Maegor was ever king. They just don't understand the culture of my people, Dave. It's clearly racism.
But consider this, when the faith challenged Maegor's ascension to the throne in King's Landing, they all resolved to settle things with a trial of 7, which Maegor won despite falling into a coma as he slew the faith's final champion. The warrior sons and the faith as a whole abided by the result and confined themselves to the Sept of Remembrance on the Hill of Rhaenys, and did nothing while Maegor lay comatose for 30 days. Then, when Tyenna showed up and revived Maegor immediately mounted Balerion the Black Dread, ordered the warrior's sons sealed inside the Sept, and burned them all alive.
Oh, come on, Dave. Those warrior sons are so annoying. Besides, it was war. Maegor was trying to win.
No, it was arguably one of the most dishonorable acts in recorded Westerosi history, although we haven't gotten to Maegor and House Harroway yet, and it completely undermined Maegor's legitimacy. Rhaegar, listen, this is really important. A ruler who defies the most sacred customs of the land will never be seen as legitimate by the citizens of that land. Trial by 7 is an ancient Andal custom deeply ingrained into people's minds, and that's why the warrior sons honorably stopped their war to honor the results of the trial by 7. And then Maegor massacred them, desecrating the holy sept in the capital city of the realm.
Well, when you put it like that, I suppose it's not the finest moment for House Targaryen.
Well, the point is, his cruelty undermined his rule. His ferocity wasn't the problem. That won him the trial by combat. And you do have to be ferocious to ride a dragon into war, as Aegon and his sisters were. And after Maegor won the trial by 7 and then was revived or resurrected by Tyenna of the Tower, well, at that point, he had leverage and legitimacy over the faith and the warrior sons, and could have tried to come to some sort of agreement with them. I mean, all he really was looking for was a carve-out for incest, But instead, his cruelty and madness got the better of him and transformed what was an honorable victory for House Targaryen into a dishonorable slaughter of people perceived as holy men. And I agree, they are annoying, but they are perceived as holy men, so there was no way he would ever settle the people to his rule after this act.
Yes, but can't you blame some of that on Tyenna of the Tower? Clearly she used witchcraft to revive Maegor.
Well, no doubt she did, but I'm not really sure how being healed, whether through magic or otherwise, changes one's personality from not cruel to cruel. What exactly is the theory behind that?
Well, I don't know. It's just something I read on Reddit.
Well, we have the example of, and this is before the trial by combat, how Maegor dealt with the small rebellion in the Vale of Jonos Arryn, who rose against his brother Ronal Arryn. Maegor showed up and executed everyone associated with Jonos, even after some of his supporters had thrown him through the moon door.
Make the bad man fly.
So harsh justice was always his style, and there was also the horse.
That palfrey was stampeding towards Maegor, Dave, and that stable boy was like Gregor Clegane, the mountain that rides. They don't tell you that, Dave.
Okay, what about Alice Harroway?
Oh, you mean Maegor's unfaithful wife who slept with 20 men behind his back?
Well, Rhaegar, you could believe that story, or you could look at the way that Maegor reacted to Tyenna's accusations against Alice Harroway, which, by the way, all the evidence of which was obtained under torture, and realize that Maegor was a violent psychopath.
Oh boy. I feel some more biased, maesterly fake history coming on.
Well, Rhaegar, there's no doubt that the maesters have their agendas and biases, but what Maegor did next was really too big to be fake news. Because after killing all of Alice's family in King's Landing and giving Alice to Tyenna for 2 weeks of torture, Maegor then went to Harrenhal, where House Harroway is from, and killed everyone with a single drop of Harroway blood, including women and children. Then he went to Harroway's town, which is nearby and probably predates Harrenhal, and did the same thing. He killed everyone with a drop of Harroway blood. To this day, there are no Harroways in Harroway's town. Only their ghosts. It was basically a small-scale genocide, and it was done purely for reasons of rage and cruelty. So this really cannot, in any sense, be chalked up to, quote, doing what he had to do to save House Targaryen.
Look, Dave, Harrenhal is a weird place, you know? You go there, you have some weird dreams, and you end up doing irrational and impulsive things. It happens to the best of us.
I'm sorry, but running off with a northern princess, even if it did help start a war, is not the same as massacring every man, woman, and child of an entire Westerosi house and bloodline.
Besides, you don't give Aegon the Conqueror a hard time for burning everyone in Harrenhal the first time, do you?
Well, Rhaegar, I do actually. The ethics of that are very debatable, since Black Heron likely did not ask any of his kin, servants, or small folk if they, wanted to go to war or not. Or slaves. Heron also had slaves. However, that was a declared war, and Aegon parleyed with Black Heron first and did give him a chance to submit before burning the castle. So while we can debate that, it's definitely not in the same class as Maegor genociding all of House Harroway and all of their kin and relatives. Because, Rhaegar, and this is an important difference, the Harroways weren't at war with Maegor. They were his subjects. So even if you believe the wild stories about Alice, which you shouldn't, nobody in Harrenhal or Harrowaystown had anything to do with any of that.
Okay, Dave, I'll admit, Maegor was a bit cruel, and perhaps he did go a bit too far. But this still comes down to Maegor's strength, cruel as it was, being necessary to save House Targaryen after King Aenys' weakness and bungling. What about that?
Well, I think you simply have to look at how Maegor left the kingdom, which he usurped. His power had eroded so badly because of his cruelty that he was left with no allies at all by the end. They all deserted him. He died on the Iron Throne, like I was saying, and if cutting your hand on the Iron Throne is a bad sign for a ruler, then impaling yourself on the Iron Throne seems like something of a final verdict on the guy's kingship, which, by the way, lasted 6 years and 66 days. In the end, I think that what Maegor should have done following the weak reign of Aenys and all the problems that he created is that, again, he and Visenya and their dragons should have backed Aegon the Uncrowned and his sister Rhaena, thereby uniting House Targaryen and uniting the realm under the next generation of Targaryen rulers.
Well, no, he did, Dave. He united the whole realm against him. Think about it. He's playing four-dimensional chess here. He had everyone in the realm practically begging for King Jaehaerys. House Targaryen solidified. I'll accept your apology.
Oh, yeah, no, you figured it out, Rhaegar. Maegor was meaning to valiantly sacrifice himself and his honor to make Jaehaerys look good by comparison. That's brilliant insight,
right.
Rhaegar. That's why we have you here, to decipher all this stuff.
Oh, you're welcome, Dave. My pleasure.
In all seriousness, though, it really was Jaehaerys and Alysanne, with a lot of help from Rhaena Targaryen and King Aenys' widow, Alyssa Velaryon, who united the realm, brokered a peace with the faith, and secured the rule of the dynasty, so that you and your crazy father could wreck it 240 years later.
Well, I'm going to pretend I didn't hear that, Dave, for all the love that I bear you, for all the great videos you've made about my son, Jon Snow, and my sister, Daenerys. And those RLJ videos aren't bad either. We did have a secret wedding, and it was a love story. And for letting me crash on your couch, Dave, I do appreciate that. Rent is expensive these days. You really have given me food for thought, Dave. Just like you did with your Visenya's Unnatural Conception of Maegor video.
Oh, yeah? Really?
Yes. I've realized that in order to fulfill the prince that was promised prophecy, I must become pregnant through parthenogenesis. I've been reading some old scrolls and I think I found the spells that Visenya used.
Oh man, I thought for sure you were doing a kind of fire and ice thing with Elia and Lyanna.
No, it turns out I am the song of ice and fire, and I must parthenogenically clone myself like a damn Komodo dragon.
All right, well, good luck with that. We'll look forward to any updates in the future. Have you thought about what to name the baby if it works out?
Oh, well, Dave, there's really only one possible name if you think about it.
You're gonna name him Maegor, aren't you?
Well, in fairness, if it's a girl, I'll call her Miguel. But yes, you know it.
All right, folks. Well, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for updates about Rhaegar's parthenogenic pregnancy. And we'll see you next weekend for Starry Wisdom Sunday at 3 p.m. Pacific for a big Winds of Winter, A Dream of Spring Predictions Iceberg. Oh, yes. So make sure you're subscribed so you get a notification, and we'll see you soon.
Too funny.